Welcome to Block and Wealth. This is the show where we take your most important sources, your notes, your research, and really distill them down.
That's right. We aim to get you those crucial insights you need to be truly well-informed, but, without all the overwhelm.
And today we're embarking on a deep dive that I think promises to fundamentally shift how you interact with one of the most pervasive, yet often misunderstood forces in your life, money. We're going far beyond the typical budgeting hacks or investment strategies you might hear about. Our focus is on those surprising, deeply ingrained beliefs that often subconsciously dictate our financial decisions.
Right, this isn't about pinching pennies
Well,
necessarily.
not at all. It's about a fundamental shift in perspective, sort of rewiring your mind to see money as this powerful tool for building the life you genuinely desire.
Yeah.
Get ready for some truly eye-opening insights, I hope. The deep root of our money story, uncovering invisible influences.
Okay, let's unpack this right from the start then. It's fascinating because, well, most of us aren't explicitly taught how to think about money in a conscious, strategic way. Instead, what we really learn to do is feel something about it. And for so many people, that primary feeling, often overwhelming, is fear.
That's so true.
Think about those common inherited beliefs, the phrases that just float around, money doesn't grow on trees, or maybe rich people are greedy, or the classic, you have to work hard for every single penny. These aren't just quaint sayings, are they? They feel more like bedrock truths sometimes.
Exactly. These ideas, what we sometimes call invisible scripts, they get absorbed incredibly early, often in childhood, long before we even develop complex reasoning.
Hmm.
They don't come with warning labels. They just seep into our subconscious mind, reinforced by our culture, by the media, by what we saw happening financially in our own families. And these scripts become these deeply ingrained neurological pathways. They form automatic responses that often bypass conscious thought altogether. And they quietly but powerfully govern how we save, how we spend, how we earn, even what we dare to dream about financially.
It's almost like a default setting you don't realize is running.
Precisely. And the profound result of this subconscious programming is that we often end up living a life dictated not by what we truly want, but by what we believe we deserve. And for many, that's almost always less than what's actually possible. These aren't conscious choices we're making in the moment. They are these deep patterns dictating behavior.
I can relate to that. I mean, when I think back to my own childhood, I remember hearing things like, we can't afford that quite often. Or maybe witnessing those hushed, tense arguments about bills behind closed doors. Even if I didn't understand the numbers, I definitely understood the tension, the unspoken fear. And I noticed, who got to decide versus who stayed quiet.
Those observations are incredibly powerful.
It's wild to think how those early emotional experiences literally became the blueprint for my adult relationship with money without me ever consciously deciding to adopt them. And for some people, it shows up in really surprising ways, doesn't it? Like maybe someone who always seems to drain their savings just as they hit a certain amount.
Yes, or consistently underprices their services, even when they know they're providing huge value.
Right, it's like an invisible hand guiding them, almost ensuring they stay in a familiar zone, even if that zone is one of struggle.
That's a perfect illustration. Those subtle acts of self-sabotage, like always depleting savings or shrinking from higher earning opportunities, are classic signs of these invisible scripts at play. They're often linked to deep beliefs like, I don't deserve wealth, or maybe it's safer to stay small. Sometimes there's even a comfort with struggle because it feels familiar.
Like a default setting you keep returning to.
Exactly. It can be a form of imposter syndrome, where success feels uncomfortable, so the subconscious finds ways to maintain that familiar, maybe limiting, status quo. But here's the radical reframe that can change everything. Money is fundamentally a neutral tool. It's not inherently good or evil. It's not a source of shame or a marker of worth. It just is.
That's a powerful idea, and one that might challenge a lot of listeners, I think. When you say money is neutral, flexible, and obedient, what does that really mean for our day-to-day interactions with it? Because for so many, money feels anything but neutral. It feels like this powerful, often scary force that controls them.
Let's lean into that analogy of a tool. Think of a hammer, or a pen, or even your smartphone. They're all tools, right? A hammer isn't good or bad. It can build a beautiful house or break something valuable. A pen can write inspiring poetry or a really harmful contract.
Okay. The tool itself has no agenda.
Precisely. A smartphone can connect us globally, help us learn amazing things, or it can isolate us in a bubble of comparison. The tool itself has no morality, no ego. Its purpose is defined entirely by the hand that holds it, by the intention of the operator. Money is exactly the same.
So our beliefs give it its power or its function in our lives.
That's the key. If you believe money is scarce, it becomes a constant source of anxiety, something to hoard. You become afraid to spend, even on things you need or great opportunities. If you believe money is power, maybe it becomes a status symbol, something to flaunt or use to control others. You might develop a very transactional view of relationships.
And if you think it's evil.
Well, if you believe money is evil or corrupting, you might subconsciously avoid it. You might even sabotage your own chances to earn it, pushing it away without realizing. But when you truly integrate the belief that money is just a tool, neutral, flexible, obedient, then you finally step into your rightful role as its operator.
You're in the driver's seat then.
Exactly. You stop worshiping it, you stop fearing it, you start using it intentionally to create what you desire. This is really the core of the abundance mindset. It's not just thinking positive thoughts, but understanding that wealth can be created, opportunities expand, and your financial reality is dynamic, not fixed. You become the architect of your financial flow.
That makes so much sense. Our beliefs literally define money's function. If we see it as struggle, it is struggle. If we see it as a flexible resource, we become its operator. It's like the world reflecting back our deepest assumptions.
And it gets even more interesting because this relationship with money isn't just mental, it's deeply, deeply physical. It actually lives in our bodies. You can feel it, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. I've felt that pit in my stomach checking my bank balance or that sudden tightness in my chest when an unexpected bill lands. My nervous system sometimes thinks my bank balance is a genuine threat. It's a very real physical sensation.
Precisely. Your nervous system acts like an internal alarm, constantly scanning for danger or safety. It interprets financial situations through a primal survival lens, much like it would react to a physical threat. So those feelings of freezing, paralysis when making decisions or panic, maybe compulsive spending or frantic earning, or shame, hiding financial struggles.
Yes.
These aren't just mindset issues. They are biological reactions to perceived threats. This is why we often say that money work is also trauma work. We're not necessarily talking about big T trauma, but the emotional imprints from past experiences of scarcity or rejection or instability, maybe things you experienced or just observed, they leave a mark on your body's alarm system.
So our body remembers those financial stresses.
It does. And without some level of nervous system regulation, even having perfect financial knowledge or the best budget won't feel safe enough to act on consistently. Your body will keep pulling you back to what feels familiar, even if it's limiting. The profound work starts by simply noticing these physical responses. The racing heart, the tight muscles, shallow breath, the urge to avoid not as problems to fix, but as messages, clues about where that fear lives in your body.
Okay, so noticing is the first step.
Yes, and acknowledging them. For instance, before you dive into your finances, maybe try a simple grounding technique. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. Really feel your feet on the ground. Maybe place a hand on your heart. This signals safety to your nervous system. It creates just a small window of calm, and from that place, you can make more rational, more aligned decisions.
Building on that idea of personal imprints, it's really interesting to consider how much of our money story might not even be ours originally. Can you talk about those inherited patterns? Most of our core money beliefs didn't even start with us, did they? There are these patterns passed down through families and culture, often without us even realizing it.
Indeed. Families and cultures carry these unspoken rules around money, and they become incredibly powerful shapers of our own financial blueprints. Maybe you were taught it's rude to talk about money. That fosters secrecy and makes it hard to learn from others. Or maybe the belief was that wealth is only for other people, which can put a subconscious cap on your own earning potential.
Or that you have to nearly kill yourself working to deserve anything.
Right, that belief that you must always work incredibly hard for even a little bit of comfort. That leads to burnout and inability to embrace ease. These deeply rooted beliefs, absorbed through observation and repetition, they lead to repeating patterns in our own lives. Avoidance, overspending, guilt, chronic under-earning, even when we consciously try to change. It's like trying to build a new house on an old, shaky foundation.
Can you give some examples of those generational patterns?
Sure. Think about a poverty consciousness passed down for generations that face real hardship. Their descendants might hoard resources even when they have plenty, because the fear of lack is so ingrained. Or maybe a martyr mentality where money is always linked to sacrifice, making you feel guilty for wanting or experiencing financial ease. Then there's debt aversion, perhaps from ancestors burned by loans, leading to an aversion to any kind of leverage, even healthy business investments that could fuel growth. These patterns play out subconsciously, influencing every financial choice.
So, to our listener right now, think about this. What money stories live in your family? What did your parents say or do around money, both when it was abundant and when it was scarce? What messages were implied, even if never spoken aloud? Did you see arguments, boasting about frugality, or maybe complete silence, creating a veil of secrecy?
Yes, really reflect on those moments. And the goal here isn't blame. It's not about blaming your past or your upbringing. It's about approaching these insights with real compassion, recognizing that your ancestors, your parents, they were doing their best with the beliefs and tools they had. They were operating from their own inherited scripts.
Right, they passed on what they knew.
Exactly. But you now have the power to examine that old script. You can keep what serves you and courageously rewrite what doesn't. Your beliefs aren't permanent facts. They are choices, repeated until they became familiar pathways in your brain. By uncovering them, you create the space to choose differently. You can literally create new money vows that serve your highest good.
2. Rewiring the mind. From scarcity to abundance and reclaiming inherent worth. Okay, so we've uncovered some of those invisible influences. Now let's talk about the rewiring part. Scarcity, for me, feels like one of the most convincing liars out there. It doesn't usually yell, it whispers. It's that insidious voice telling you never enough. Never enough time, money, opportunity, support. It's tricky because it often pretends to be just being prudent or responsible.
Scarcity really is a master manipulator. It weaves itself quietly into our thoughts, our habits, our decisions. It urges you to grab what you can now because the opportunity might disappear. It convinces you that if someone else has more, you must have less, that zero-sum game mentality. It whispers that safety lies in hoarding, that growth is too risky, that asking for or deserving more is selfish or maybe even dangerous.
It keeps you playing small.
It absolutely does.
Mm.
If you're not paying attention, it can shape your entire life. You end up building a life around what you think you can afford instead of what you truly desire or what's actually available. And the most painful part is that this mindset often feels logical. It feels responsible. But in truth, it's a slow erosion of your potential and your joy.
And it's definitely not just about literal poverty, is it? You can make a great income, even be considered wealthy by many standards, and still feel that constant scarcity. I know highly successful people who are perpetually worried about losing everything or feel like they just have to keep grinding forever because they might run out.
Absolutely. You can earn six figures and still think like you're broke, constantly worrying about the next bill. You can have millions saved and still live in fear of losing it all, completely paralyzed by financial decisions. Because scarcity isn't about what you physically have. It's about what you believe is possible and what you feel you are worthy of. It's rooted in fear, and fear doesn't care how much money is in your account.
Right. Fear just wants you to stay safe, which often means staying small.
Exactly. Stay worried, stay dependent on those old, limiting patterns. And our culture reinforces this constantly, doesn't it? Messages telling us we must compete, hustle, prove our worth. And comparison, of course, is scarcity's favorite playground. Scrolling through social media, seeing someone else's highlight reel, scarcity whispers, see, there's only so much success to go around and you're falling behind. It breeds jealousy, doubt, self-sabotage.
Making you measure yourself against others instead of your own vision.
Precisely. It leads to fearing, asking for help, hiding struggles, needing to appear successful, even if it's not the reality.
So if scarcity is the convincing liar, then abundance must be the liberating truth. It's not about just putting on rose-colored glasses, is it? It's more about choosing a different perspective.
Exactly. Abundance means believing that more is possible, not just for others, but for you. It means trusting that the world actually expands when you do, and that wealth isn't some fixed pie with limited slices. It's more like a dynamic, expanding river that flows. And the more aligned you are with your purpose and values, the more that river flows through you. Not just to you, but through you as a conduit.
That's a beautiful image.
When you adopt an abundance mindset, you stop seeing others as competition. You start seeing their successes as evidence of what's possible for everyone, including yourself. You stop resisting money and start directing it with intention. This mindset invites creativity, clarity, confidence. You make decisions from vision and potential, not fear and lack. It's a commitment to alignment.
Which leads perfectly into this idea of the abundance reset. It's not about forcing positivity, but making a conscious decision to choose that different lens, right? Seeing opportunities over limits.
Yes, the abundance reset is a powerful act of conscious choice. It involves challenging those deeply ingrained, often inherited beliefs, but with curiosity, not judgment. It's about updating your beliefs to genuinely match your current reality and your future vision. Recognizing that what might have been true for your ancestors facing hardship isn't necessarily true for you now.
That can be hard, though. People get attached to those struggle identities.
It can be very challenging. Many people become attached to identities built around struggle, the hustler, the underdog, the martyr. There's a strange comfort in those roles sometimes, a kind of validation. But if you want to step into new levels of ease and expansion, you must be willing to release those old patterns and the identities tied to them. Growth demands evolution. You can't create a new reality from the mindset that built the old one. It takes courage.
So, a really practical insight here is literally shifting our language around money. This seems small but powerful. Instead of saying, I can't afford that, maybe try something like, that's not aligned with my priorities right now.
Exactly. Or instead of, I'm terrible with money, shifting to, I'm learning to manage money more effectively.
These aren't just superficial word games, are they? They feel like powerful signals to our nervous system, our mindset, saying we're in control, even when navigating limits.
Absolutely. The language you use is a potent mirror of your beliefs and a blueprint for your subconscious. Most people don't realize how often their language is rooted in lack, fear, or self-sabotage. Phrases like, I'm broke, money doesn't grow on trees, I'll never afford that. They reinforce limits. They lock you into scarcity. They literally instruct your brain to find evidence to support those statements. Your subconscious takes them as facts.
So it shapes your reality from the inside out.
It does. This isn't about pretending you have money when you don't. It's about choosing language that opens possibilities instead of closing them down. Reframing from helplessness to choice and empowerment.
And speaking of beliefs, here's what's so fascinating. Money itself is neutral, right? But our emotional framework, the beliefs we wrap around it, that's what dictates how it impacts us.
Precisely. Money, as a tool, has no preference, no agenda, no morality. It just moves, flows, accumulates, circulates. Our beliefs about it, that it corrupts, makes you greedy, is only for the lucky. That's what gives it perceived power over us. And that often leads to self-sabotage or an inability to even receive it when it comes.
So money doesn't change you, it just reveals you.
It amplifies who you already are. That's a great way to put it. If you're generous, money gives you more capacity to give. If you're fearful, it gives you more to protect and worry about. If you're wise, it gives you more resources to manage and leverage for impact. Understanding this removes that false mystique from money. It doesn't control you. It responds to your intentions and beliefs.
So the call to action here is really about separating emotions from financial decisions, not ignoring emotions, but not letting them drive the bus.
Exactly. Your feelings are important signals, but they're not always accurate instructions. You can feel afraid and still choose to invest wisely, for example. The goal is clarity, not eliminating emotion, so you gain authority over how money functions in your life.
This brings us to another really silent, but I think toxic assumption that our self-worth is somehow tied to our net worth. It's so pervasive, even if unspoken, and drives so much striving and hidden shame.
Oh, this belief is incredibly damaging. It creates immense pressure. It leads people to tie their self-esteem to external numbers that fluctuate constantly with the market, job status, economic shifts, even just luck. It encourages secrecy about financial struggles, pretending you're doing better than you are, and that paralyzing fear of asking for help because it feels like admitting failure.
Right. It equates financial struggle with personal failure.
Exactly. Instead of seeing it as a temporary circumstance or maybe a lack of education in that area or just a stage in a journey, the truth is simple but profoundly liberating. Your value as a person is inherent. It does not increase when you earn more, and it does not decrease when you earn less. You are not your income, your expenses, or your net worth, period.
You are valuable regardless of the numbers.
You are a human being with creativity, intelligence, potential, purpose. No financial metric can ever measure that inherent worth.
So if we truly manage to detach our self-worth from our money, what's the implication? How does that free us up?
Detaching self-worth from money allows for profound shifts across your entire life. It lets you take more aligned risks. Because failure doesn't mean you are a failure. It allows you to be honest about your financial situation without shame, which means you can actually get help or make clear-eyed decisions. You start making decisions based on your deepest values and vision, not out of fear or a desperate need to prove yourself to others.
You see fulfilled people with modest means and unfulfilled people with great wealth all the time.
Exactly. If money alone determined value or fulfillment, that wouldn't be possible. This detachment means you can pursue opportunities, experiment, even face financial setbacks without it crushing your identity. You stop chasing money for validation, and you start allowing money to flow in support of the life and impact you already envision. It shifts focus from accumulation to alignment and contribution. 3. Intentional action. Designing your financial flow and impact.
Okay, so what does this all mean for how we actually act with money day to day? It seems like it means challenging that deeply ingrained idea that we exist just to work for money, often at the expense of everything else.
This is a fundamental paradigm shift. It's moving from seeing yourself primarily as a laborer trading time for dollars to seeing yourself as a creator designing systems where money serves your life and your vision.
Mm-hmm.
The paycheck mindset keeps so many people locked in scarcity thinking. It suggests there's a fixed ceiling on what you can earn, and the only way to make more is to give more of yourself away, more hours, more energy, more sacrifice.
It ignores the leverage.
Completely. It ignores the power of leverage, creativity, alignment. It fails to account for the fact that money, understood as a tool, can multiply when used intentionally. True wealth isn't built just by working harder, but by working differently, smarter.
It's like that difference between chopping wood with an axe versus using a chainsaw. Both take effort, but one uses a tool far more effectively for much greater impact. Most people are still swinging the axe, believing they just need to swing harder or longer, ignoring that better tools or smarter methods exist.
Precisely. When you truly see money as a tool, not just a reward you have to constantly chase, you stop burning yourself out trying to prove your worth. You start building systems that let money work for you, even when you're not actively working. This means developing real financial awareness and intentionality.
Like what kind of systems?
It could mean understanding how to direct your money wisely, maybe investing in income-producing assets like real estate or a diversified portfolio, or automating your savings so it happens without constant effort, or designing business models that create recurring value. It means using money strategically to buy back your time, create margin in your life, support your well-being, rather than being enslaved by the pursuit of it. It also requires healing that emotional relationship with receiving money, releasing the old script that says earning should always be hard, or that ease is somehow lazy or undeserved.
Let's circle back to language for a moment. You mentioned its power earlier. Our words around money really are powerful indicators of belief, aren't they? They literally help shape our reality.
They absolutely are. The words you use aren't harmless background noise. They quietly, powerfully shape your reality. Most people don't realize how often they use language rooted in lack, fear, self-sabotage. I'm broke. Money doesn't grow on trees. I'll never afford that. These phrases reinforce limits, lock you into scarcity, send negative signals to your subconscious. Your subconscious takes them as facts, finds evidence to support them, and subtly steers your actions accordingly.
So it's not about pretending, but about possibility.
Exactly. It's not about pretending you have money you don't. It's about choosing language that opens possibilities instead of closing them down, reframing from powerlessness to choice and empowerment.
So those actionable alternatives are key. Instead of, I can't afford that, that's not my priority right now, or maybe even, how can I create the resources for that?
Yes, or instead of I'm terrible with money, shift to I'm learning to manage money more effectively, or I'm becoming financially literate.
These aren't just small tweaks. They feel like powerful signals to your nervous system, your mindset, saying you're in control, you're growing, even amidst constraints.
Yes, those shifts reframe the situation in terms of choice and signal growth. Your internal dialogue matters just as much. If that inner voice is constantly critical or anxious, you're reinforcing survival mode. But if it's calm, curious, constructive, you're reinforcing growth and possibility. The impact is profound. Words become habits. Habits become identity. Identity becomes your financial path. Even how you talk about wealth itself matters. If you describe wealthy people as greedy, your subconscious might protect you from becoming wealthy by avoiding it. But reframe wealth as an amplifier of values, an enabler of freedom or impact, and you stop resisting it.
Okay, so we've covered mindset language. What about the actual actions of earning and spending with purpose? How do we integrate this into our daily financial flow?
Intentional earning starts with a question most people never really ask themselves deeply. What does enough actually look like for me to support the life I genuinely desire? Not what society dictates, not what your peers earn, but what income level truly supports your vision for your life, your time, your peace, your contribution. Without that clarity, it's easy to fall into endless striving for more.
Without knowing what more you're even aiming for.
Exactly. Intentional earning means filtering opportunities through a lens of alignment, not just desperation. What's the emotional, energetic, relational cost of how you make money? Are you sacrificing peace for a paycheck? Saying yes just because it pays well, even if it tilts you from your deeper goals? It's about knowing your zone of genius, That unique mix of skills, passions, values, and dropping guilt around fair compensation, moving from scarcity-based pricing to value-based pricing.
Charging for the transformation you provide. And on the flip side, conscious spending. This isn't about budget suffering, is it? That word budget often sounds like deprivation.
Not at all. Conscious spending is the opposite of budget suffering. It's using money intentionally to support your desired life, operating from clarity and intention, not guilt or scarcity. Unconscious spending, mindless swiping, coping with boredom or stress, keeping up with others, lets money leak away without real impact. Conscious spending starts with awareness. Where does my money really going? Does my spending truly reflect what I say I value? The key isn't restriction, it's discernment.
Asking what truly brings value.
Right. What brings genuine value, joy, or progress into my life? Redefine afford, not just as do I have the cash, but does this align with my deepest priorities and long-term reality? For example, unconscious spending might be buying fast fashion out of habit, leading to clutter and remorse. Conscious spending might be investing in one high-quality, durable item that serves you for years, or spending on an enriching experience that creates memories and supports well-being. Prioritizing impact over impulse.
That makes so much sense. Cutting out what doesn't serve you to pour resources into what does, which brings us to saving and investing. Traditionally seen often as acts of fear saving for that rainy day, but you're suggesting we reframe them as acts of creation.
Absolutely. We need to shift from fear-based rainy day saving, which can lead to hoarding money out of anxiety, to saving like a creator. A creator saves not just to prevent pain, but to actively prepare for possibilities. Your savings account isn't just a lifeboat. It's a launch pad for ideas, personal growth, creative projects, future freedom.
So, different savings goals beyond just emergencies.
Yes, categorizing funds with intention. A fund for rest, a fund for learning, a fund for a bold project, for future investments, for giving. Each represents trust in your future and a conscious allocation of energy. It fosters flexibility, treating money as dynamic energy to be applied strategically.
And investing. That often feels so technical, exclusive, and intimidating for many, like it's only for the super wealthy.
Investing at its core is a profound act of belief in the future. It's choosing to allocate resources today, expecting growth tomorrow. We need to demystify it beyond the jargon. It's not just for the elite. It's a fundamental shift from being solely a consumer to being a creator of value, a stakeholder in the future. When you invest, you're saying, I believe in what's possible.
Believing in growth.
Exactly. This means learning to distinguish cost from value. A valuable investment might stretch you short-term, require stepping out of your comfort zone, but it often opens doors. Growth involves movement, sometimes a calculated stretch. And one of the most overlooked yet powerful forms of investment is investing in your own capacity, your skills, education, mindset, well-being, support systems. This sends a huge message of self-worth. It signals you're worthy of growth, organically increasing your ability to create and receive wealth. 4. The new paradigm. Wealth is an ecosystem, energy, and legacy.
What's fascinating here, and feels really fresh, is thinking about wealth not just as static numbers, but as dynamic energy. That feels like a completely different lens.
It is a radical reframe. Money is just one form of energy, and like all energy, it's always in motion. It moves toward clarity, alignment, a clear vision. If you feel stuck financially or money feels elusive, it's often because your energy is tangled, scattered, avoidant, resisting its natural movement. Wealth grows when energy flows smoothly and intentionally.
So it's not about frantic hustle necessarily.
Not at all. It means a steady, intentional rhythm. Giving and receiving, output and input, creation and rest. When your energy is clean, meaning you're operating from truth, aligned with values, not posturing, that clarity is magnetic. It draws opportunities, relationships, resources. And respecting energy boundaries, protecting your time, focus, creative energy, rest is essential for effective wealth direction. Generosity from overflow, not obligation, fuels circulation. Affirming wealth is expansive.
Like clearing clutter invites flow.
Exactly. A cluttered physical space often reflects a cluttered internal state. Your internal energy and external environment are reflections of your financial state.
So if wealth is energy, then our financial life isn't just isolated transactions. It's more like a living system, a financial ecosystem. That's a really helpful way to conceptualize it.
Precisely. True financial well-being comes from how all the parts work together. Not just fixing isolated problems like, I need to save more. A well-designed ecosystem is intentional, adaptable, provides clarity, knowing what's coming in, going out, and why. It's designing a structure where money flows purposefully, supports your values, evolves with you.
What are the key components of this ecosystem?
Well, you need a simple foundation for tracking, maybe an app, maybe analog envelopes. Spending categories based on your priorities, wellness experiences, giving not just restriction, different types of savings for different purposes. Investments beyond just stocks, maybe in tools, relationships, experiences. Crucially, boundaries protecting time and energy. A consistent rhythm, weekly reviews, monthly check-ins keeps you engaged without obsession. An organized environment, physical and digital. And underpinning it all, the mindset, the invisible soil where beliefs support behaviors.
Wow, that system creates confidence and flexibility, doesn't it? Makes you the architect.
Exactly. The architect of your financial future, designing it deliberately instead of letting it just happen to you.
This raises a big question then. How do we literally rewrite our personal money story and make that shift from passive consumer to active creator of our financial reality?
Everyone has a money story. That narrative built from past experiences and beliefs, quietly dictating thoughts, feelings, behaviors with money. The first step is to uncover it. Honest, compassionate self-reflection. What did you learn, observe, feel growing up? What were the unspoken rules, the triggers, the recurring patterns? Then identify and consciously release the parts that were never yours to carry, beliefs absorbed from others, old vows that don't serve your truth now.
And then you write the new story.
The truly powerful exercise is to literally write a new version in the present tense, reflecting what's genuinely possible, who you're actively becoming. Instead of money is hard, right? I am capable of creating and holding wealth with ease and joy. I trust myself to earn in alignment and manage resources wisely. This act profoundly changes internal dialogue and outward behavior.
And that connects perfectly to shifting from passive consumer to active creator, redefining our role.
Indeed, modern life often conditions us for unintentional consumption. Reacting, buying out of habit, boredom, pressure. The shift to creator means reclaiming agency, intention. A creator doesn't just ask, what does this cost? They ask, what does this create? What value does it add? They allocate money strategically. Earning becomes an extension of creativity. Time and energy are protected for what matters.
And this isn't dependent on already having wealth.
Not at all. It requires vision, intention, a willingness to shape your life deliberately. It transforms self-worth, tying it to intention, values, integrity, not just accumulation or external opinions.
So let's wrap this deep dive by redefining success itself. The old definition of rich, just numbers, external validation feels so limiting, often empty. What does it mean to be truly rich on our own terms in this new paradigm?
Redefining rich means challenging society's shallow metrics, the bank balance, status symbols. The invitation is to turn inward. What experience of life feels truly rich to me? Is it freedom of time, inner peace, meaningful contribution, deep joy in relationships, freedom to choose your path? This internal definition frees you from comparison, addresses shame around wanting more, expands your capacity to hold wealth without guilt. It's about living richly now by embodying what feels abundant, not waiting for a future number, building a life that feels abundant.
Okay, and finally, what does abundance in action look like day to day, beyond just the mindset?
Abundance isn't just a mindset. It's consistent, deliberate action. Daily practice. It shows up as conscious generosity, sharing energy, ideas, attention, resources without fear of running out, knowing circulation creates expansion. It's saying yes to aligned opportunities even when they stretch you, trusting your discernment. Investing in yourself, skills, support, rest signaling you're worthy of funding your growth. Setting firm boundaries to protect time and energy, allowing you to give from overflow. Practicing deep gratitude, see what's already available. And handling setbacks as data, not failures, trusting your ability to recover and adapt.
So it's a whole way of being.
Ultimately, yes. New wealth paradigm is about cracking those old narratives where wealth was just numbers, control, exclusivity. In this new model, wealth is measured by how you live access to joy, peace, purpose, time. It's expansive, collaborative, integrates integrity with profit, ambition with rest. Earning is expression, spending is conscious alignment, saving is self-respect, giving is circulation. Legacy isn't just what you leave behind, it's how you live now.
That feels like a powerful place to pause and reflect.
And the provocative thought is this. You are not just participating in this new wealth paradigm, you are actively helping to shape it. Every time you choose intention over habit, alignment over approval, clarity over chaos in your financial life, you reinforce a new standard. You don't need permission to build a rich, full life. You get to start now with what you have and deliberately build from there, one conscious choice at a time.
What a powerful thought to leave everyone with today. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into rewiring your relationship with money. We truly hope these insights empower you to look at your financial life with fresh eyes and a renewed sense of purpose, recognizing the incredible power you hold.
It's been a pleasure.
If you found value in this deep dive, please take a moment to subscribe, perhaps share it with a friend who might benefit, and leave us a review. Your support really helps us continue bringing these conversations to light. Until next time, remember, wealth isn't luck, it's strategy.